These are Gibson's most unloved, overlooked, even ugly guitars that you are sleeping on. I'm going to tell you the best overlooked Gibsons to choose from. Stick with me to the end, I'll give you my absolute favorites. It's John here from Play and Trade Guitars. We all know that Gibson Guitars is the most prestigious guitar company in the world. American made in Nashville, Tennessee, it is a status symbol in and of itself to own a Gibson guitar, and the popularity of the Les Paul, the SG, and other iconic models is not lost on any of us guitar players, right? But there are overlooked models, hidden deals, guitars that have gone under the radar and deserve more love. Some of you call these guitars ugly or they're maligned in many other ways. But I'm here to tell you that there are some real gems amongst the most overlooked guitars from Gibson. And as I run these down by price, I'll go from low to high price before giving you my absolute favorites at the very end. I'll tell you that if you're in the market for any gear, including these Gibson guitars, click to buy new gear using our link. You'll find that pinned in the comments or down below in the description. And if you're watching this on a TV, just scan the QR code and you can shop on your smartphone. When you use that link, you get fast free shipping, easy payment plans that makes buying a Gibson super easy, and you help me make these videos. So thanks for doing that. Without further ado, let's dive in to the most unloved, overlooked, even ugly Gibson guitar models before I tell you the absolute best ones that are worth owning and worth buying. Let's do it. Now, I don't need to tell you how popular the Les Paul is as a guitar, but there are certain Les Paul models that have been overlooked. In fact, the Gibson Les Paul Modern Lite is actually the lowest priced guitar in the Gibson USA lineup. It was at $14.99, but it's currently on sale. You can save $100 using our link on any of the Les Paul Modern Lites. The story here is that it's a thin, comfort cut, all mahogany body, so it's lighter weight and it's thinner. This guitar is a special standout if you need a lighter Les Paul, because let's face it, they can get heavy. And the aesthetic of this is really beautiful. It's got a satin finish and the colors match between the headstock and the body. This guitar has a singing voice. It is super resonant and light. Next up, my absolute favorite SG of all time is the Gibson SG Standard 61. And you might be asking, why are we even looking at this guitar? Well, sometimes it comes down to a finish that's not so popular. And guess what? If you're willing to go for a less popular finish, you can save big money. This SG Standard 61 is the full gloss finish with the 61 burst buckers that are my favorite humbuckers from Gibson USA. It's got the small guard aesthetic of the early 60s SGs with a slim neck. Sometimes when I say ugly, it's just because what one person thinks is ugly, you might think is beautiful. And guess what? You like this cardinal red burst? I actually think it's really cool. Snag it now. Save yourself $300. Probably my favorite production guitar from Gibson USA, period. Remember to hit that link or that QR code if you are gonna shop. All right, the Les Paul Modern Studio, oh boy. There are 3 studios on the market. There's the Gibson Les Paul Studio at $15.99. There's the newest Les Paul Studio Session at $19.99. That is an absolute banger of a guitar. And then there's this one, which I kind of said skip it. Well, guess what? I guess other people have been skipping the Les Paul Modern Studio because they've now discounted the line by $200. And one thing that makes the Les Paul Modern particularly unique is that you can get it in this worn white satin finish. So if you like a guitar with a satin finish, this is a chance now to save $200, making it much more competitive. Because to me, it was priced the same way before as the Les Paul Studio Session, and to me, the Les Paul Studio Session blows this one out of the water. However, if you can save the $200 and get the satin finish, it has a true ebony fretboard and extra switching capabilities. It is a beautiful guitar. Even the tuners just feel expensive. Save $200. That worn white finish is the only white finish that you can get on a studio currently. So a good way to do that. Gibson Limited Edition Flying V. All right, let's talk Flying Vs and Explorers. Gibson was way ahead of their time, right? Can you believe that these guitars were designed in the late 50s? I really find that hard to believe. But in fact, it was the case. And nowadays, I think most guitar collectors and guitar buyers overlook the Flying V and Explorer. You tend to associate them with heavy metal maybe, or you haven't given them a proper chance. And as I go down this list, you're seeing a theme. If you're willing to look at the unloved Gibsons or the ones that have been skipped, what are you seeing time and time again? Price drops. Check this out. It was $24.99. You could save $500 and get this at $19.99. All right. Drop a comment and let me know what you think of these guitars as we go. How are we feeling about the Gibson Theodore? Now, Ted McCarty designed this in the 50s and it never went into production until Gibson pulled it out of the vault recently and put it in production. Kind of looks like a tulip bulb. And actually the category of guitars that I place this into is comparable to an SG. It's a little shocking when you first see it because it looks different. And for that reason, it's kind of been skipped over. But I will tell you, if you want to make a statement and play something different that's similar to an SG, this will turn heads. I particularly like that they went with the Explorer headstock on this tulip bulb body. I think it actually nailed the aesthetic. Now this Gibson Victory is a tribute to a guitar that was produced in the early 80s for a while and then went out of production. Gibson just recently brought it back, and it has been a little bit maligned for maybe being an ugly guitar, but beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and what this guitar is special for is a satin super playable finish, 24 frets. Very few Gibson guitars have 24 frets, and it sports an ebony board with an Explorer headstock. I really like the gold mist satin finish. You can click the link to see all the available finish options. Talking Explorers, the Explorer was also a radical design of the late 50s that went in and out of production. It was short-lived, but it's become a rock and roll darling, and there's something about the crazy sustain and resonance and just this huge sound that kicks out of an Explorer that makes it really interesting. All right, let me show you a series which is totally overlooked. I'm just gonna show you all three and then I'll talk about it. Here's the Les Paul Standard 60s faded, the Standard 50s faded, and the Standard 61 with a Maestro Vibrola. These are true Les Paul standards, and the only difference, the reason they cost less, is because they have a satin nitro finish instead of a full gloss nitro finish. Not only does that save money in terms of labor cost and production, but they pass those savings on to you. And most importantly, from a playability standpoint, many players prefer the feel of satin. It also has, because it has less finish on it, some people argue that it has a more airy, resonant sound. I can tell you that a lot of people who own faded series say that they are the best sounding Les Pauls in their collection, and they're the cheapest Les Paul standards that you can get. So do not sleep on the faded series. That's going to be one of my top picks. I'll give you all my absolute top picks, the ones I think you should absolutely own, at the end of this video. Ray Dietrich designed the Firebird. He was a retired auto designer, legendary auto designer. He knew Ted McCarty, and he was semi-retired in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And through a chance meeting, they got to talking about Ray designing a guitar, and he kind of started from scratch and designed as an auto-minded designer what he would want to put into a guitar. It differs a little bit from kind of the standard Firebird. You can watch my demo on this guitar. But I will tell you, this is currently the only Firebird that Gibson USA has in production. It does look great and sound great, and it's worth thinking about, but it just sounds unlike any other Gibson. That's another trend here, is that these overlooked models don't sound like anything else, and that makes them worth owning. Now, the 70s Flying V is probably my personal pick, and because, again, people tend to overlook the lot of Flying V and Explorer, I think my personal preference in terms of aesthetic is the antique natural 70s. I just like that white guard against the natural mahogany. And same with the Gibson 70s Explorer. I think that's just such an iconic look, and it screams 70s and takes it a little bit out of the thrash metal association of the 80s with that blacked out hardware. Now, okay, there's nothing overlooked about a Les Paul Standard 50s, but what's overlooked are the plain top iterations. And there are plain tops getting blown out currently at $20.99, $19.99, $21.99. You can check the link for current sale prices. But even the regular Les Paul Standard 50s plain top is $25.99, $200 less than the typical Les Paul Standard. The Deluxe, which sports mini humbuckers, is definitely overlooked in my opinion. At $25.99, you get a beautiful gold top with mini humbuckers. Now the ES335 is legendary, but I think the ES339 is overlooked. At $29.99, you can get the ES339 with a full gloss finish. It's going to be a semi-hollow guitar just like the larger bodied 335, but a smaller bodied 339. In a nutshell, the legendary Greenie Les Paul went from Peter Green of Fleetwood Mac to Gary Moore to its current owner, Kirk Hammett. So I think some people have thumbed their nose up, unrightfully so, about the fact that it's named Kirk Hammett Greenie. And what they've slept on is how good this guitar sounds, particularly with its set of Greenie Bucker humbuckers, which does the out-of-phase Peter Green sound. All right, I'll show you one Gibson custom shop. Most of these buyer's guides, I just focus on regular production because with custom shop, you know, the sky's the limit. It's a different category. But how are we feeling? You let me know in the comments about this R&D custom. And I've heard rumors that something similar could be coming to Gibson USA, so we'll have to see. But let me know what you think of this shape. I think my vote for the ugliest Gibson body design, personally, I think the R&D is the ugliest body design I have ever seen from Gibson. That's just me. You can tell me what you think. All right, with that, I'm gonna give you my absolute favorites. But before I do that, if you're enjoying this video, hit subscribe because I'm giving away a Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s when we hit 100,000 subscribers. Just hit subscribe so you're in it to win it. And if you are considering buying any gear, click to buy new gear using that link. It helps me and helps you with fast free shipping and easy payment plans. And you can scan this QR code if you're watching on a TV, shop on your smartphone, even more fun while you're sitting there browsing guitars. It makes it really easy. So check that out. All right, you stuck with me to the end, so thanks for doing that. Let's talk absolute favorites. Of all the maligned, unloved, overlooked Gibsons, here are my absolute favorites, the darlings of this ugly bunch. Okay, here we go. Les Paul Modern Lite, don't sleep on that sale, $100 off, and it is the lowest priced offering from Gibson USA, super lightweight, resonant, and sounds fantastic. You can watch the demos on these. My absolute favorite, the SG61 Standard. I adore this guitar, and the fact that you can get it for $300 off currently, act now, save $300 on that Cardinal Red Burst finish in particular. That's a no-brainer in my opinion. Now, of the Flying Vs, I'm gonna choose the limited edition 70s Flying V. It's $500 off currently, and you got the blacked out hardware. Now, the Theodore, I actually really like the Theodore. I enjoyed playing it. I think it looks pretty cool, and it's just so different that you kind of gotta go, yeah, I gotta own one in my collection. Very, very cool guitar and sounds great. This guitar was a surprise to me. I did not expect to like this guitar. When I played it, I adored it. It's 24 frets, fast playing, ebony fretboard with satin finish on the guitar. It's aggressive, it's loud, it plays fast, it shreds, and it sings. I can absolutely endorse the Gibson Victory satin finish in particular at $19.99. Now this whole series, Faded, if you want one Les Paul Standard and you like satin finishes, gosh, is this series overlooked. Go with the Faded series, save a bunch of money, and have an incredible sounding and playing Les Paul. Les Paul Standard 60s is my pick with the 61 burst buckers, my favorite burst buckers. $22.99, Faded Vintage Cherry, beautiful guitar. If I'm gonna choose an Explorer, I'm definitely gonna go with the 70s Explorer in Antique Natural, although close second would be Classic White. The Classic White is cool, but to me, it's just super 70s to see the natural mahogany with that white guard against it. And that mother of pearl Gibson logo on that Explorer style hockey stick headstock is just too cool to me. Remember, Les Paul Standard 50s, everyone loves those, but if you're willing to go with a plain top, I think it has its own cool aesthetic and you save $200, so don't sleep on the plain top. There's also some absolute blowouts. You can get some of those plain tops for as little as $20.99 or $19.99 right now. Check below for those sales while they last. Gibson Kirk Hammett Greenie. It was a little divisive. People didn't know what to think. I'll tell you, I loved it. It was one of my favorite Les Pauls I've played in recent years, and those Greenie buckers are a knockout. And I'm telling you, here's the absolute three favorites. Here's like my desert island guitars. If I lost my collection and had to buy from this ugly duckling, darling bunch, here's the three that I would buy. I'll give you an SG, a Les Paul, and then something different, okay? It's gonna be the SG Standard 61 because it's $300 off and it's already my favorite production Gibson USA guitar, so that's just a no-brainer. That's easy. If I'm gonna get a Les Paul that's overlooked, it's gotta be the Faded series. I would go Faded 60s at $22.99. And now, I'll tell you my absolute favorite of the ugly darlings that we've gone over. But before I do, remember to hit subscribe. I'm giving away a Gibson Les Paul when we hit 100,000 subscribers. And if you're shopping for gear, scan that QR code or use our link. I really appreciate you doing that, and you get all those perks too. All right, drum roll. Absolute favorite that's not a Les Paul or an SG. Gosh, I'm gonna give it to the limited edition 70s Flying V, $500 off currently. Don't snooze on that. All right, what did you think of this collection? I actually had a lot of fun going through every production Gibson and saying, all right, which ones are people missing out on? Or which are the maligned ones that people call ugly or people are sleeping on? And I found some real gems. If you agree, hit subscribe. And I'll tell you what, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let me know which of these are your absolute favorites. Which of them do you own or play on stage? I'd love to hear from you if you're rocking these out. Let me know in the comments. Shop gear using that link or this QR code, and I'll see you on the next video from Playing Trade Guitars. I have a ton of buyer's guides on Gibson, Fender, Epiphone, and you name it. Go check out those demos across the channel. Until next time, I'm John for Playing Trade Guitars. Keep playing. See you next time.